Congressman Byron Donald, ladies and gentlemen, calling in from your office in Washington, D.C., I imagine. I apologize. I'm having a little problem connecting there. Calling on behalf of your good friend C.J. Pearson, I'm told. What's it like being a young black man in today's Republican Party? I mean, sometimes you catch hell from your own people in the party, but you certainly catch a lot of hell from the left.
You know, it's one of those things where you get in, you better have Kevlar skin. I'm just going to tell you right now, you got to be double tough because you're going to take the attacks from everywhere. And so for me, you know, when people started getting, you know, when people saw me come in, saw me get into my state legislature, you know, to be frank, some people didn't know how I would vote on tough issues. But when you're a black conservative, you have to stand on principle, because if you don't stand on principle, if you're not a man of your word, you're going to get chewed up in this process really fast. And so, you know, that's just my perspective. That's my history. And I know CJ's been the same way.
I got to ask you real quick. I just got a text from our sheriff here in Columbia County. He heard me before our phone call talking to another caller about the number of illegal aliens in Georgia. And an internet source quoted that at 312,000, something like that. Our sheriff, who is very astute on these issues, says BS on those numbers, lots more. What do you hope to do as a conservative federal official about empowering state law enforcement and local law enforcement to really help out the feds? You know, there are a hell of a lot more local cops than there are federal cops on this issue, and they can be very effective tools for you if you will, number one, indemnify them from any action in the legitimate execution of their jobs, and also make sure that they're financially covered. My sheriff here in Columbia County would like to bust every bad guy there is. He just isn't going to bankrupt the county in the process. See what I'm saying? Is there support? Correct. Is there any support coming from the federal level to these local law enforcement officers like our sheriff in Columbia County?
Well, under Joe Biden, we're not going to see any of that. But I'll tell you, one of the key things we got to do is we have to reinvigorate the 287G program that allows for that cooperation between local law enforcement and ICE, so you can actually deport people and send people home. We're going to have to send a whole lot of people back to their countries because the nation cannot handle this. It's costing our cities and our states way too much money. We can't afford it. And at the end of the day, listen, it's pissing off a lot of our citizens because they're like, wait a minute, man, we're struggling too and we're Americans. But you're giving away hotel rooms and debit cards and all this other stuff to people who shouldn't even be in the country. So we have major issues there. But I will tell you, under a Trump administration, look out for being able to help with those costs for local law enforcement. And making sure local law enforcement has the ability to do their job and not be persecuted all the time for doing their job. We got to stand for what's right in this country, and what's right is making sure that we have an orderly immigration process. I think in the press and with the Democrats, they always try to say we don't want immigrants in our country. That's not true. We want an orderly immigration process that respects the United States, that allows for assimilation into the United States, so we can keep the fabric of our nation as we move forward. But all these people that Joe Biden's brought in, you got to send them back. They cannot stay here. Whether it's China, whether it's El Salvador, whether it's Mexico, Venezuela, they have to go home. They cannot stay here.
That's one of the crazy. Yeah, that's one of the crazy aspects of the story that is not getting a lot of coverage. Pull up some of the video of these illegals coming in at our southern border. It looks like a meeting of the UN. They're coming from everywhere.
You're absolutely right. They're coming from everywhere. So that's the job in front of us. For your sheriff and the sheriffs out there listening, listen, Trump administration, we're going to have your back, because we're not going to leave you out there hanging out to dry. We got to do the right thing for our communities, and that's keeping our people safe, keeping the American people safe. And frankly, this isn't even safe for a lot of these illegal immigrants who are here, because they're being left in some of the worst conditions possible. None of this is humane. All of it brought to us by the radical Democrats and Joe Biden.
All right. Congressman Byron Donald speaking on behalf of C.J. Pearson, running for that 125 House seat right this minute. I think the final election date is Tuesday on that, and pre-voting is going on. Thank you so much for calling in, Congressman. Been a fan of yours for a long time. It's an honor to talk to you.
All right, listen, take it easy.
Thank you. Congressman Byron Donalds from the great state of Florida.